some level of anxiety is totally normal after we have a baby, and it is to be expected. But for many, we can get caught in these constant cycles of worrying or feeling that something really bad is going to happen. The tips that I'm sharing with you will help you regardless of where your anxiety level is, and help you reduce and manage that anxiety so that it doesn't get any worse. First tip is to recognise that your thoughts are just thoughts. And this is really important because when we feel anxious, we often get really carried away in our thoughts and start believing that they are truths, that they are factual, that it means that something really bad is going to happen. When we start stepping back from our thoughts and just seeing that they're happening, it really helps to recognise that this isn't the truth. So for example, if I have the thought, something bad is going to happen to my baby, that is different to me having the thought, okay, I'm thinking that something bad is going to happen to my baby. Can you notice the difference there? With the second version, we are simply noticing that we're having that thought, but we're not buying into it necessarily. We're just observing that that's what's happening. And that is a really important step of this process, so that you can remove yourself and separate yourself from that anxiety and recognise that it is just something that you're thinking. Second tip is to reduce or avoid checking as much as possible. Okay, with this one, when I say checking, I mean things like checking our baby is breathing at night, checking our babies, checking our bodies for signs or symptoms of something wrong, checking the internet maybe. But all of these behaviours are completely normal, and of course we want to check on our babies, for example, but it often gets to the point where it feels quite excessive, and we may, for example, stay up all night checking that our baby is okay, and to the point where maybe we're not getting any sleep, for example. And so try to think about actually what is a helpful level of checking for you, and what will be kind of helpful and conducive to taking care of your baby, versus actually what do you think maybe is excessive, what is being unhelpful for you, and just try to reduce that as much as possible. Maybe enlist the support of a partner or someone that knows you very well to help you decide what is a helpful level of checking for you. A third important skill to be able to do when we're managing our anxiety is to learn to retrain our attention. So with anxiety, it generally means that our anxiety gets focused on something to do with that anxiety. So it may be, for example, symptoms in your body if you're worried about that. It may be on dangers going on around you. It may be that you're worried about something in relation to your baby. It may just be that you're focusing on your anxious thoughts and you're ruminating and worrying over and over and over about something bad happening, for example. And what we need to do is, as well as being able to challenge those thoughts, but we want to be able to simply notice that we're having those thoughts. Our thoughts are just thoughts, and to move our attention away. This can be done in various ways, but just simple mindfulness exercises can be really helpful. Maybe you practice the ability to remove your attention by looking around the room and, for example, noticing what sounds there are, then noticing what you can see, noticing what you can taste, for example, in your mouth, or what you can smell, and being able to remove your attention and practice it in this way can help you for when you're in the moment and when you're feeling anxious. If you'd like me to make a video all about different mindfulness exercises that you could use to practice, then just let me know in the comment section by saying mindfulness. And as well as being able to refocus our attention, something that's really important is our ability to challenge those thoughts in a helpful way. So at this stage, we've noticed that our thoughts are just thoughts, they're not necessarily facts, but sometimes it's still really hard to tell if that thought is realistic, for example. So try to think of different ways that you could look at this. So for example, you might think, if a friend was in the same situation, what would I think about that situation? Or you might think, if I wasn't feeling anxious or low in mood, for example, then how might I see this situation? Maybe you've dealt with this situation at a time when you didn't feel anxious. How did you deal with it then? Perhaps there's someone that you trust in your life and you really trust and value how they act and how they are. What advice might they give to you, or how have they done it in the past? Try to find ways to establish what is a healthy level of anxiety for you, whether those thoughts are realistic or whether they actually really need challenging to something more helpful. And my next tip is to avoid avoiding. So when we feel anxious, we often want to not do things or to avoid things, because that doing that thing can make our anxiety worse. So let's say if I am stood in my apartment and I am stood near a window and I get an intrusive thought, a scary, anxious thought about something bad happening to my baby, or me dropping my baby out the window, for example, if I avoid standing near that window, it is likely to make that anxiety feel worse, even though it's completely understandable why I may avoid doing it. But the more that I don't go near that window, the more power I'm adding to that thought, the more I may feel scared to go near that window in the future. Let's take a completely different example. If I'm feeling really shy and anxious and I do not want to go to a baby class, for example, and actually I would like to go to that baby class, but it is just my anxiety holding me back, then if I don't go to it, it will relieve my anxiety short term. But in the longer term, it will make my anxiety worse, because I am not learning that I can go to it, I'm not getting that experience, and it will become much harder to go in the future. So notice anything in your life that you are avoiding right now and just think, okay, is this something that I could introduce or reintroduce, and how could I do this? And just gradually try to build that in. And I said I was going to give you 5 tips, but actually I am going to give you 6 tips. And my 6th tip is about how you can relax your nervous system. So what I mean by this is, when we are anxious, we have what we've been discussing of our thoughts going on and the things that we do or don't do, but we also have the physical impact that this anxiety is having on our body. We usually carry a lot of tension and stress. We are usually on high alert that something is going to go wrong. Often when we're anxious, we are quite hypervigilant for dangers, and we may feel that there is something going on or could go wrong a lot of the time. And so actually what we need to be able to do is to relax our nervous systems and calm that physical tension in our bodies. So this is things like doing deep belly breathing and really learning to regulate your breath and bring oxygen to the different parts of your body. This is spending time outside, ideally in nature, but just even looking out the window if you can't get to that stage. It is spending time with friends who understand you and value you and get you. It is taking exercise or going for a walk. It is relaxing. It is trying to get away from some of the difficulties that are holding us back. So those anxiety-driven difficulties, and doing the things that we enjoy, spending time cuddling on the sofa and learning to relax in that situation. And now you have learned about how to help postpartum anxiety, but if you're still trying to work out if your anxiety is of a normal level or whether it is really excessive, then may I highly recommend that you watch this video, where you will learn all about what is normal anxiety and what is that really excessive, what we would classify as the postpartum anxiety. And also don't forget to subscribe for more videos like this.